Good evening and welcome to another episode of Reading Epic Threads. I'm your host, Patrick Gunnels, joining you from Houston, Texas. This February 13th, 2025 at 7:26 a.m. Central Standard Time, I have one piece to present to you today. It is America for Sale Part 2 from badlands.substack.com. Before I do anything else, please support what I do here by going to tulipblooms.shop and getting the legendary, amazing castor blend. Use promo code Shapiro for 10% off. From badlands.substack.com, America for Sale, Part 2, The Foundation of Corruption by Joe Lange. Q often said, follow the money, because it always reveals corruption. But Q also said this, follow Huma. Why? Huma Abedin will reveal a lot of corruption too. Huma was a handler for Hillary going back to the time when Bill Clinton was president, and she has been at her right hand through many important events. Huma was involved in everything centered around Hillary. Huma was also the chosen liaison between Hillary and Prince Al-Walid. I note about that in my last article. Here is an important portion of a Q drop that was posted on the day before Al-Walid was arrested in Saudi Arabia. Q drop number 71 of November 4th, 2017. Anonymous. Follow Huma, who connects HRC/CF to SA. Why is this relevant? Who is the Muslim Brotherhood? Who has ties to the MB? Q told us to follow Huma for a reason. Huma Abedin was a key player who managed to stay in the background for the most part. Huma is the connection between Hillary, the Clinton Foundation, and Saudi Arabia. She's also deeply connected to the Muslim Brotherhood. Her family moved to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, and Jeddah just happens to be Al-Walid's hometown. Huma was born in Michigan, which made her an American citizen and the perfect choice to be Al-Walid's liaison with Hillary. Q connected Huma to Hillary, the Clinton Foundation, the Muslim Brotherhood, and Al-Walid. But Huma had another important connection that Q didn't mention. According to the Washington Times, quote, while still working at the State Department, Hillary Rodham Clinton confidant Huma Abedin was paid by the private consulting firm Teneo Holdings to help stage a star-studded reception that included her boss's husband, Bill Clinton, along with George W. Bush and former British Prime Minister Tony Blair as speakers, just days after the Benghazi tragedy, the Washington Times has learned. Ms. Abedin's work on the September 20th, 2012 event at the glamorous Essex House in New York City helped entertain potential Teneo clients, wowing them with access to 3 former world leaders on a single stage. It was one of the specific projects she worked on with Teneo during a 7-month period, in which she earned a $15,000 a month consulting fee from the firm while simultaneously receiving pay as a, quote, special government employee advising Mrs. Clinton at the State Department according to interviews and documents, end quote. Why was Huma allowed to work for a private consulting firm in D.C. while she was Hillary's closest aide at the State Department? Isn't that a huge conflict of interest? Huma made a lot of money working for Teneo while at the State Department. This was a major consulting firm in D.C. that I don't think many people have ever heard of. She helped stage events between Teneo clients and former world leaders like Presidents Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Prime Minister Tony Blair. This event was not publicized ahead of time. It was a private event, and she was paid a lot of money by Teneo to be this important liaison. Huma was given special government employee status at the State Department so that she could also work for this private consulting firm in D.C. But Huma wasn't just an ordinary employee working at the State Department who needed a second job. She was Hillary's right hand through everything. She was privy to secret information at the highest levels while also working for the consulting firm Teneo. This is an obvious conflict of interest. But did you know that Huma was also working for the Clinton Foundation at that time? Just another conflict of interest. I wonder how many Teneo clients donated money to the Clinton Foundation. I also wonder how many people Hillary personally met with as Secretary of State who then donated large amounts of money to the Clinton Foundation, and how much money was Teneo compensated for brokering these donations. Everything is connected. It's a massive money laundering operation with many people around the world seeking favors. They were selling out America. More from the Washington Times, quote, "The special government employee status at the State Department allowed Ms. Abedin to simultaneously take on other consulting work, as with Teneo and the Clinton Foundation, where she assessed the charity's ongoing programs to pave the way for Mrs. Clinton's return there after she left the State Department in early 2013, end quote. Huma wasn't just the liaison between Hillary and Teneo. She was also the liaison between the Clinton Foundation and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Huma was at the center of all the money laundering operations involving Hillary. And don't forget, during this time, Huma was still assistant editor for the Muslim Brotherhood Journal that her parents helped start in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. None of this is a coincidence. Huma was Prince Al-Walid's handler for Hillary, and that gave Al-Walid direct access to the State Department, the Clinton Foundation, and Teneo. Huma connected the Muslim Brotherhood to everything she was involved in, all with Al-Walid's approval. Remember, it was infiltration, not invasion. The Muslim Brotherhood was allowed to infiltrate our government after Al-Walid installed Obama as president. Prince Al-Walid was in charge of certain specific things. Here's an important portion of Q drop number 299 of December 7th, 2017. SA controls assigned US, UK politicians, TechCo's primary. It's not a coincidence that Huma was coordinating a Teneo event where the headline guests were Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Tony Blair. They were all puppets. Al-Walid has controlled many important US, UK politicians for several decades. Al-Walid was also one of the Clinton Foundation's biggest donors. While Hillary was Secretary of State, she was part of his 16-year plan to destroy America. Al-Walid had installed Obama for 8 years, and then Hillary was going to be installed for another 8 years. Huma was Al-Walid's liaison between him and the Clintons. Hillary wasn't supposed to lose. But why did Huma go to work for Teneo? Was she also a liaison between Al-Walid and Teneo? Here's where another big connection comes in to another important player. Have you ever heard of Doug Band? According to Wikipedia, Douglas J. Band, born October 28, 1972, is an American businessman and lawyer who is a founding partner and former president of Teneo, a multinational C-suite advisory firm and investment bank. Previously, he was deputy assistant to President Bill Clinton in the White House and later counselor to President Bill Clinton. Band was the key architect of the Clinton post-presidency, and he created the Clinton Global Initiative, CGI. Band later worked for the William J. Clinton Foundation and also traveled to North Korea to orchestrate the release of the two Americans and to Cuba to help secure the release of another American, Alan P. Gross. End quote. Don't miss that last part. Doug Band traveled with Bill Clinton to North Korea to help release American hostages. We'll come back to that important data point. Doug Band was a founding member and president of Teneo, which was not just a consulting firm, but also an investment bank that catered to former world leaders and large corporations. Investment banks come in real handy when you're trying to launder large sums of money. Doug Band has known Huma for a long time. In my last article, I pointed out how an intern named Monica Lewinsky became the big media story while all the big Clinton administration scandals took a back seat or were swept under the rug. The real intern story was Huma Abedin being appointed as Hillary's aide and remaining at her right hand all the way up to her 2016 presidential campaign. Did you know that Doug Band was also an intern inside the Clinton White House? According to the Gainesville Sun, quote, Bill Clinton's right-hand man is a gator. Doug Band, 35, is a Sarasota native who earned a bachelor's degree in English at the University of Florida in 1995. He became a White House intern after graduating, working his way to being Clinton's personal aide and architect of the former president's initiative to address problems across the globe, end quote. Both Huma and Band were interns inside the Clinton White House. Huma worked at Hillary's right hand and Doug Band worked at Bill Clinton's right hand. Both of them stayed well below the radar during all the scandals involving the Clinton presidency, but then left the White House as the Clintons' closest aides. I don't believe that's a coincidence. According to The Atlantic, who is Doug Band and what did he do for Clinton? A little bit of everything, it turns out. He helped launch the Clinton Foundation, came up with the idea for the Clinton Global Initiative, brokered deals for paid speeches that enriched Clinton, and then started a private consulting firm called Teneo that made the foundation, Bill Clinton, and Band himself even wealthier. Band, now 44, was to Bill Clinton what Huma Abedin has been to Hillary. He started as a junior staffer in the White House straight out of college in the 1990s. And once the Clintons left office in 2001, he never left Bill's side, end quote. Doug Band and Huma Abedin's connections go beyond just sharing time as interns during the Clinton presidency. They worked together at Teneo, but they also worked with each other at the Clinton Foundation. According to Breitbart, quote, Band served as a top aide to President Bill Clinton in the 90s and assisted in creating the Clinton Global Initiative. He is also a founding partner of Teneo, a global consulting firm with several connections to the Clintons that obtained approval from the State Department for a paid consulting arrangement between Bill Clinton and Band. Teneo is the same firm that paid Mrs. Clinton's longtime right-hand woman, Huma Abedin, while she worked as a senior advisor to Clinton at the State Department. A few months after Hillary Clinton took office in 2009, Abedin began communicating with Clinton Foundation donors who were asking for favors from Clinton's State Department. While she was Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton also handpicked Teneo co-founder and CEO Declan Kelly as her economic envoy to Northern Ireland, end quote. Don't miss these important details. Doug Band went from being an intern for Bill Clinton to helping the Clintons start up the Clinton Foundation. He created the Clinton Global Initiative, which took the money laundering operation worldwide. While Hillary was Secretary of State, she gave approval for Teneo to pay Bill Clinton as a consultant. How much was Teneo paying Bill Clinton? Teneo paid Bill Clinton $2.5 million per year as a client and paid advisor to the firm and its founders. Nice little side hustle, right? Huma Abedin was the liaison between the Clinton Foundation donors who were looking for favors and the Hillary State Department. Can you see the scam? Hillary was using her power as Secretary of State to give favors for big donors to the Clinton Foundation. Teneo was the consulting firm investment bank used as the go-between. America for sale. Don't miss that last part of the Breitbart quote. Hillary Clinton also handpicked Teneo co-founder and CEO Declan Kelly as her economic envoy to Northern Ireland. Who is Declan Kelly? According to Politico, quote, when Hillary Clinton became Secretary of State, she personally sought out a man named Declan Kelly to be her economic envoy to Northern Ireland, giving her 41-year-old former fundraiser a special status outside normal diplomatic channels. But while serving as Clinton's special envoy, reaching out to global corporations for those investments, he was also working for two of them as a private consultant, earning about $2.4 million from Dow Chemical, a longtime client of his and one of the firms that participated in Clinton's Ireland initiative. It was also during this time period that Kelly and Doug Band, a close aide to former President Bill Clinton, were preparing to launch a global consulting business that would soon become a well-known and controversial success story. Their new venture, Teneo Holdings, would go on to employ numerous Hillary Clinton associates, including her closest confidant, Huma Abedin, and for a time, Bill Clinton as honorary chairman, giving clients rare access to the couple and their network of world leaders. End quote. Declan Kelly was a fundraiser who then went to work for Hillary at the State Department. Like Huma, he was also given the designation of special government employee, which allowed him to retain his $2.4 million salary he was collecting from Dow Chemicals, which was one of his clients at the consulting firm he previously worked for. Kelly purposely didn't take a salary from the State Department and even hired his own staff. Why? It made it a lot easier to hide what he was doing and how he was being compensated. Hillary gave him an official State Department position as special envoy to Ireland, and that position would lead to many lucrative deals with American corporations who would then funnel money into the Clinton Foundation. He used his official position as a go-between for the State Department and the Clinton Foundation. More from Politico. Quote, despite job titles that sounded like State Department positions, and despite their regular interactions with official State Department staff and Irish diplomats, none of them were official government employees, and thus they had no constraints on their outside activities. The State Department does not have a record of these individuals being employed by the department, reads a State Department statement for this story. Some of Kelly's envoy office employees were also doing consulting work for Kelly's private firm, listing Declan Kelly Consulting on their resumes. They would become among the first Teneo employees. Because they weren't officially on the State Department payroll, their work would not receive the typical oversight given to state employees. It's unclear whether they were required to file any sort of disclosure forms, and the State Department would not comment on what obligations they may or may not have had to meet. They literally had no record of Kelly or his staff working for the State Department. All by design. Hillary was using her position as Secretary of State to fundraise for her foundation in order to enrich her family and all of her cronies. Our government was no longer working for the people. They were only working for themselves. America for sale. Kelly and Band would officially start Teneo in 2011 with a third partner. Who was the third partner? Paul Keary. More from Politico, quote, former employees say that Kelly, Band, and a longtime associate of Kelly's named Paul Keary began planning for their joint consulting firm long before the incorporation and the official launch in June 2011. In 2009, several weeks before he took his unpaid state post, Kelly created his own private consulting firm, and Keary created two others, which would later combine under the Teneo umbrella, end quote. The planning for Teneo began in 2009 when Hillary took the job as Secretary of State. Why did they wait until 2011 to launch Teneo? More from Politico, quote, Kelly had been working as a top executive for FTI Consulting. Upon stepping down in July 2009, he had signed a 2-year non-compete agreement that barred him from doing consulting work for anyone else. It offered him, however, a chance to continue working for FTI part-time as a consultant for Dow Chemical and Coca-Cola. Kelly opted to keep those lucrative relationships, companies that would later become two of Teneo's first and biggest accounts, and between August 2009 and January 2011, in the midst of his State Department work, Dow paid Kelly $2.4 million through FTI for consulting fees, according to a source familiar with the arrangement, end quote. They waited to launch Teneo for 2 years because Kelly had signed a 2-year non-compete agreement with his previous firm. So Kelly took the position at the State Department for 2 years and used his official position in order to make corporate connections that would later benefit both Teneo and the Clintons. Paul Keary was busy during that 2-year period too. He was gathering clients for the coming Teneo launch, while Doug Band was making the same connections with the Clinton Foundation. More from Politico. Quote, many of the clients that signed with Keary overlapped with Bill Clinton's work. The USA Bid Committee for the World Cup, for example, hired Keary in 2010 to help make the pitch for future games. Earlier that year, Band had joined the board of directors for that very committee, and Bill Clinton himself lobbied the International Soccer League, FIFA, that fall to try to snag the tournament for the U.S. End quote. Does anybody remember the big FIFA scandal? According to Nonprofit Quarterly, FIFA, whose leadership was largely carted away by police in Switzerland due to charges announced by the U.S. Department of Justice. Also among the donors was the Qatar 2022 Supreme Committee, the organization established to build the stadiums and other facilities for Qatar's hosting of the 2022 World Cup in soccer. End quote. Keary and Bond had joined the U.S. bid committee for FIFA in 2010. The leadership of FIFA was arrested for corruption in 2015. Coincidence? More from Nonprofit Quarterly. Quote, FIFA reportedly gave the Clinton Foundation between $50,000 and $100,000 as a membership fee to participate in the Clinton Global Initiative, plus a commitment to build 20 community centers in South Africa as part of FIFA's decision to put the 2010 World Cup there. And the Qatar Committee gave between $250,000 to $500,000 as a CGI sponsor in 2013. The Qatar 2022 Supreme Committee might not have been entirely advocating for the World Cup as an independent voluntary organization, as the government of Qatar was doing whatever it could with lots of money flowing to get the FIFA World Cup nod. The government of Qatar has given between $1 and $5 million to the Clinton Foundation. End quote. Qatar got the World Cup bid, and the Clinton Foundation made a lot of money. Then a lot of top FIFA members got arrested. Nobody looked into the Clintons' involvement in this scandal as they made off with millions of dollars. Keary didn't just get FIFA to contribute to the Clinton Foundation, he also got a big bank to contribute. Let's go back to that Politico article. Quote, Keary also won UBS's business. In 2009, the Swiss bank's Zurich branch came under fire for helping wealthy Americans evade taxes. UBS would not answer questions about the dates and specifics of the arrangement, but a former employee said Teneo helped arrange a series of events at which UBS executive Bob McCann appeared on stage with Bill Clinton and George W. Bush starting in May 2011, called Revitalizing America. McClatchy reported Clinton received $1.5 million for his participation, and UBS expanded its Clinton Foundation donations from $60,000 in 2008 to $600,000 in 2014, according to the Wall Street Journal. All the while, the three founders started laying the foundation for the merged firm, Teneo. The Swiss bank, UBS, was under criminal investigation by the DOJ because of a whistleblower's claim that they were helping wealthy Americans avoid paying taxes. Then they hired Kiri as a consultant. He then set up an event where they could pay both Bill Clinton and George W. Bush large speaking fees. Soon after, large donations to the Clinton Foundation started pouring in from UBS. According to The Guardian, quote, in February 2009, the IRS sued UBS and demanded that it disclose the names of 52,000 possible American tax evaders with secret Swiss bank accounts. In the months that followed, thanks to involvement of Clinton and Secretary of State and Swiss lawmakers, a legal settlement was negotiated. On 19 August 2009, it was announced that UBS would pay no fine and would provide the IRS with information about 4,450 accounts within a year. Since the deal was struck, disclosures by the foundation and the bank show the donations by UBS to the Clinton Foundation growing from less than $60,000 through 2008 to a cumulative total of about $600,000 by the end of 2014, according to the Wall Street Journal. The bank also teamed up with the foundation on the Clinton Economic Opportunity Initiative, creating a pilot entrepreneur program through which UBS offered $32 million in loans to businesses, the newspaper reported. Other UBS donations to the Clinton Foundation include a $350,000 donation from June 2011 and a $100,000 donation for a charity golf tournament. Additionally, UBS paid more than $1.5 million in speaking fees to Bill Clinton between 2001 and 2014, the newspaper reported. End quote. UBS was donating a lot of money to the Clintons for Hillary's help in this criminal case. But they actually did end up paying a big fine in this case to avoid criminal prosecution. According to Investment News, quote, UBS AG, Switzerland's largest bank, will pay a total of $780 million in fines, interest, and restitution to avoid U.S. prosecution on charges that it helped thousands of wealthy Americans evade taxes. The Zurich-based bank will also disclose the names of some secret bank account holders, end quote. UBS paid a fine to avoid prosecutions. $780 million is a big fine, and they paid it along with big donations to the Clinton Foundation to avoid criminal charges. But why would the Obama DOJ fine UBS so much money? Didn't UBS already buy protection from the Clintons? Do you think the Clintons were the only ones using their government positions to shake down corporations for big money? Do you remember this big story? According to Forbes, internal U.S. Department of Justice documents confirm the existence of a department slush fund under the Obama administration, and that DOJ officials went out of their way to exclude conservative groups, the head of the House Judiciary Committee told fellow lawmakers Tuesday. House Judiciary Chairman Bob Goodlatte, Republican, Virginia, made the claim just ahead of a vote by the U.S. House of Representatives on a bill that would prohibit government officials, most notably the DOJ, from entering into or enforcing a settlement agreement on behalf of the United States that provides for a payment or a loan to any person or entity other than the United States, with some exceptions. End quote. Remember the name Bob Goodlatte. He's an important player Obama didn't just politicize his DOJ to threaten his political enemies, he also used his DOJ to shake down corporations. What were they using this DOJ slush fund for? More from Forbes. Quote, Goodlatte has said the need for the legislation arose after an extended Judiciary Committee investigation found that the DOJ had engaged in a pattern of practice of systematically subverting Congress's budget authority by using settlements from financial institutions to funnel money to what he describes as left-wing activist groups, end quote. Obama was forcing financial institutions to funnel money to left-wing activist groups that supported him and the Democrats. Do you remember Q mentioning this specific slush fund? From Q drop number 36 of November 2nd, 2017. What slush fund did A.G. Sessions, through DOJ, put an end to? How does Soros, Obama, Clinton, Holder, Lynch, etc., all net many millions of dollars, normally within a single tax year? End quote. Sessions ended the Obama DOJ slush fund that was enriching them all. How big was this Obama slush fund? According to Hot Air, quote, it is not every day in congressional investigations that we find a smoking gun, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee Bob Goodlatte said Tuesday on the House floor. Goodlatte revealed emails which he says prove the Obama Department of Justice used settlement money as a slush fund for progressive groups. The Justice Department emails released by Goodlatte show that only approved left-wing groups were eligible for the banks to make payouts to as part of their settlements, overtly excluding any deemed to be too conservative. An investigation by Representative Goodlatte's committee found that over 2 years, the Obama DOJ directed approximately $1 billion to various outside organizations from settlements. In January, Goodlatte's committee requested the DOJ preserve all documents, including emails, related to the settlement money, end quote. Goodlatte discovered emails from the Obama DOJ that proved they were using settlement money as a slush fund to fund hand-picked left-wing activist groups. In just a 2-year period, they had funneled $1 billion to left-wing groups. We have all the evidence. We're just waiting for Trump's people to be in place before the public prosecution phase can begin. Do you remember what Q said about Congressman Goodlatte? Q drop number 2445 of November 7th, 2018. Do you believe in coincidences? Which two House members ran the investigations, DOJ, FBI, etc.? Press release from judiciary.house.gov. Goodlatte, Gowdy reach agreement with the Department of Justice. Gowdy resignation. What role did he play? House investigations. House Oversight and Government Reform Committee Chairman Goodlatte resignation. What role did he play? House investigations. House Judiciary Chairman. House Senate. House Senate. House Senate. Trust. Grassley. Senate Judiciary Chairman. House of Cards. Military planning at its finest. Q. Military planning at its finest. Both Bob Goodlatte and Trey Gowdy played very important roles in the many criminal investigations happening in the background. Then they resigned from Congress. Why? They left Congress, but I believe they are still active in the criminal investigations happening in the background. Those investigations have generated hundreds of thousands of sealed indictments, and those indictments are just waiting to be unsealed. This is an important portion of Q drop 2462. Who briefed Goodlatte and Gowdy on classified intel? Read DOJ and FBI. The person who briefed Goodlatte and Gowdy on classified intelligence for these investigations was Ezra Cohen Watnick. He was General Flynn's right-hand man that Trump prevented H.R. McMaster from firing. Then, after Watnick had gathered enough evidence, Trump installed him at the DOJ for the very purpose of giving this classified intelligence evidence to Goodlatte and Gowdy. This evidence is part of the public record now and will be revealed at the perfect time. I wrote about Ezra Cohen Watnick in my article entitled, "We Won't Forget." Goodlatte and Gowdy's role in this war was so important that Trump thanked them for their service and sacrifice. History is being made. For those who don't know, Q plus is Trump himself. Q drop number 2451 of November 7th, 2018. New title TBD Q. History is being made. You are the saviors of mankind. Nothing will stop what is coming. Nothing. Q. Thank you for your service to our country, Mr. Trey Gowdy. Thank you for your service to our country, Mr. Bob Goodlatte. Your sacrifices will never be forgotten. Q plus. Gowdy and Goodlatte have done more to set up these investigations than we know. Trump tells them that what they've done will never be forgotten. Why? Because the coming prosecution phase is going to be historic. It will be massive and will go down in history as an example and a future deterrent. Q gave us some more key players who are playing important roles in the coming prosecution phase. Another portion of Q drop, number 2462 of November 9th, 2018. Logical thinking required. A. How can arrests occur prior to removing the corruption from the DOJ and FBI? B. How can arrests occur prior to safely securing a majority in the Supreme Court? Constitution, rule of law. C. What is the role of the Senate? Role of Goodlatte, role of Gowdy, role of Sessions. Goodlatte, Gowdy, and Sessions all resigned. Goodlatte, Gowdy, and Sessions all resigned. Who did Sessions appoint? In November 2017. Link, foxnews.com. Sessions, federal prosecutor evaluating alleged FBI, DOJ wrongdoing, no second special counsel for now. Who is Huber? Who reconfirmed Huber? Who originally appointed Huber? Importance of partisan optics. Mandate charged to Huber. Resources provided to Huber. Who is Horowitz? Mandate charged to Horowitz. Resources provided to Horowitz. End quote. Goodlatte, Gowdy, and Sessions all resigned around the same time. That wasn't a coincidence. It was all part of the plan. I believe they are all still playing a role in the background. The reason that it's happening in the background is because a lot of the evidence in these investigations is classified information. Sessions had secretly appointed Huber back in November of 2017. Huber's first investigation was focused on the Clinton Foundation. The Clinton Foundation was at the center of massive corruption, and that investigation leads to many crimes and treason. This brilliant move by Sessions caught the enemy completely by surprise. According to Breitbart, quote, Professor Jonathan Turley, a top national legal expert on government investigations, commented on Thursday about Attorney General Jeff Sessions' decision to bring in U.S. Attorney John Huber. Turley called it brilliant to combine all the powers of the U.S. Department of Justice's Inspector General with a prosecutor who could bring charges, seek indictments, and get results for President Trump far more quickly than a second special counsel, end quote. This is what it's important to understand. The DOJ and FBI were completely corrupt at the higher levels when Trump first took office. Trump began to clean out the top of these agencies, but he didn't wait until they were clean in order to start the criminal investigations. Q told us the plan in this portion of Q drop number 1517 of June 16th, 2018. IG started long before Huber, setting stage. Important note, think IG equals FBI. Huber equals DOJ, no DC. Why are we emphasizing this given the world is watching? Strategic, or they already know. Hence, CEO, political, mass resignations adding up. Logical. Careful of clickbait. Q. I keep telling people that they all know what's coming and they can't stop it. The record number of resignations by CEOs and politicians since Trump was first elected is clear evidence that something massive is happening in the background. Sessions went around the corrupt FBI and DOJ by assigning IG Horowitz to conduct these investigations instead of the FBI. The Inspector General's office is independent, and there is an IG office overseeing every government agency. They have a broad reach to investigate all corruption involving our government. Then Sessions appointed Huber to prosecute the criminals from these investigations instead of the DOJ. So, while we've gone through 8 years of exposing the corrupt DOJ and FBI in the narrative war, the real criminal investigations were happening in the background, beyond the spotlight and outside of the DOJ FBI involvement. Sessions launched this massive investigation in response to a request by Goodlatte, Gowdy, and Senator Chuck Grassley. This was a highly coordinated plan, military planning at its finest. More from Breitbart. Quote, Sessions informed Congress in his letter that all the matters recommended for investigation by Goodlatte, Gowdy, and Grassley are fully within the scope of Huber's existing mandate. He also informed the chairman that Inspector General Michael Horowitz, who is working with Huber, has a staff of 470 investigators, giving Huber access to enormous investigative firepower that far exceeds the staff of any special counsel. That point is critical because, as Sessions' March 29th letter explains, the Inspector General's jurisdiction to conduct civil and criminal investigations includes actions taken by former employees after they have left government service. Then, Huber can act on any of those matters. As a United States attorney, Huber has full authority to empanel a grand jury and to file criminal charges. A grand jury can be empaneled anywhere, which means that it could be a group of citizens from deep red Utah in the heart of Trump country instead of the DC swamp that decides whether to hand down indictments for felony prosecution. The Inspector General's jurisdiction extends not only to allegations of legal violations, but also to allegations that department employees violated established practices as well, Sessions added in his letter, which means that the IG's report can hold people accountable even for actions that do not violate a specific statute, end quote. There are hundreds of thousands of sealed indictments just waiting to be unsealed. Once Trump has his people in place at the DOJ and FBI, the justice phase is coming as it was promised. Transparency and prosecution. There is simply no other way. Remember, Al-Walid was arrested in Saudi Arabia on November 5th, 2017. I believe that kicked off a lot of things. Huber was appointed as a special prosecutor soon after that arrest. After Goodlatte and Gowdy finished their investigations in the House on a lot of Obama administration crimes, they both handed off their evidence to one particular individual in the Senate. Who was it? Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley. What oversight power does the Senate Judiciary Committee have? Overseeing the Department of Justice, considering executive and judicial nominations, reviewing pending legislation, holding hearings and investigations, legislative jurisdiction. Grassley overseeing the DOJ is a huge oversight power, especially considering how much Obama corrupted and weaponized the DOJ. But what about legislative jurisdiction? What specifically is that oversight responsibility? The Senate Judiciary Committee has broad legislative jurisdiction, which includes considering proposed constitutional amendments and legislation related to federal criminal law, human rights law, immigration, intellectual property, antitrust law, and internet privacy. Don't those oversight responsibilities line up well with some of Trump's promises and things he's looking to accomplish? Safeguarding our future. Get rid of the two-tier justice system, executive order on crimes against humanity, ending illegal immigration, protecting American intellectual property from being stolen, breaking up monopolies, Internet Bill of Rights. I think Grassley is going to play a key role in a lot of what's coming in Trump's second term. Q drop number 2274, September 23rd, 2018. Trust Grassley. Q. Grassley is a main player. He is at the center of the coming transparency, D-class, and prosecution phase. But I also think he will play a vital role in the coming Trump agenda to transform our entire government using the rule of law and legislation for new laws that will safeguard our future. I believe Grassley is about to be put on center stage in the coming months to expose something the enemy fears most: treason at the highest levels. It is why they have gone to extreme lengths to frame and try to remove Trump. It is also why they went to extremes in order to steal the election in 2020 and tried again in 2024. When this treason is fully exposed, it will completely change everything in this country. Grassley is sitting on all the evidence of treason from the Goodlatte and Gowdy investigations. This treason evidence was connected to the Clinton Foundation, and it was also connected to Huma Abedin and Doug Band. They were at the center of this massive money laundering operation involving Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Teneo, which was funneling money into the Clinton Foundation from corporations who were looking for favors. It was a pay-for-play spider web. America for sale. But these connections are far bigger than just money laundering. There was something that happened back in 2009 that will help reveal it all, and it's a story long forgotten. Doug Band personally asked Huma for a favor while she was working at the State Department. What was the favor? Do you remember this Q drop? That was only a picture. Q drop number 227 of November 24th, 2017. Pictured Clinton in North Korea sitting next to Kim Jong-il. Why would Q just post this picture? Do you remember this event? According to the Chicago Tribune, quote, a new trove of Hillary Clinton-related emails was released Thursday by a conservative research organization, and the group said they revealed requests for State Department action from Clinton Foundation employees and a key donor in 2009, seeming to add fuel to the notion that the Clintons provided favors to friends and supporters. Bill Clinton, Doug Band, sought State Department favors for foundation supporters, said a headline in Thursday's press release from Judicial Watch. In fact, many of the emails touted by Judicial Watch concern a once secret mission by North Korea by former President Bill Clinton that led to the release of 2 American journalists who had been sentenced to 12 years of hard labor for spying, end quote. Bill Clinton went on a secret mission in 2009 to free 2 hostages in North Korea with the blessing of Obama. This picture that Q posted was taken during that trip. Don't miss the 2 important figures in this picture other than Bill Clinton. John Podesta is standing behind Clinton, and Doug Band is standing behind the North Korean leader at the time named Kim Jong-il. Bill Clinton went on this mission at the request of Kim Jong-il. Why did the leader of North Korea request Clinton to travel there to negotiate the hostage release? And why did Doug Band tag along? Doug Band at the time was working for the Clinton Foundation and setting the table along with his 2 partners to launch Teneo. More from the Chicago Tribune, quote, "The featured item in Thursday's Judicial Watch release includes a request from longtime Clinton aide Doug Band for coveted diplomatic passports, which provide easy transit for State Department and other top-level government employees. Need get me Justy and JD Dip passports," Band wrote to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's longtime aide Huma Abedin in a July 27, 2009 email. "Okay, we'll figure it out," Abedin wrote back moments later. At the time, Clinton, Band, and 2 younger aides to the former president, Justin Cooper and John Davidson, along with several other advisors and friends, were planning the secret trip to Pyongyang in consultation with President Barack Obama's administration's national security experts. End quote. Band was asking Huma to get them diplomatic passports, even though none of them worked for the State Department. These passports would help them skip security or scrutiny. Was this secret trip really about freeing 2 hostages? Hostages have been an enemy playbook strategy for many decades. Hostages in Iran were part of the cover for the CIA shadow government's Iran-Contra operation. I wrote about that in my article entitled "Shadow Government Exposed." Hostages played a key role in Obama's Iran nuclear deal. That turned out to be cover for a massive secret money transfer to Iran. I wrote about that in my article titled "Panic in DC." And now, Q is posting this picture of Bill Clinton representing the Obama administration in North Korea for hostage negotiations with no comment to go along with the picture. What was this 2009 hostage story a cover for? And how does it connect to Grassley? Right after Q posted the picture of Bill Clinton meeting Kim Jong-il on a secret hostage meeting in 2009, Q then posted an important drop that was connected to this picture. Q drop number 228 of November 25th, 2017. USA leadership change. SA leadership change. JUR leadership change. PAC leadership change. 40,000 feet. 8, 7, 6, 5, ... Q. This is the 40,000-foot view of what's happening. Trump became president in 2017 and completely changed the direction of the United States. What is the significance of the leadership changes in the other 3 countries? Why were these key leadership changes so important right after Trump was elected president? How are these leadership changes connected to the hostage story in North Korea? How are these leadership changes connected to Huma Abedin and Doug Band. How are they connected to Chuck Grassley? I will reveal the connections in my next article, America for Sale Part 3. And that's our show, my friends. Good old Joe Lange doing a peace out right in the middle of a thought. Loved it. Thank you so much. Share this, please. For those of you watching right now, remember, you can support what we do by going to tulipblooms.shop, getting the incredible castor blend. What is castor blend? It is a mixture of 40% castor oil and then argan oil, apricot kernel oil, amaranth oil, sea buckthorn oil, an essential oil blend containing rose geranium, patchouli, tea tree, rosemary, and lavender. Bam! Got all 5. And then finally, of course, a little bit of vitamin E oil for preservation and antioxidants. It is amazing. It's not sticky like castor oil. It's 40% castor oil, but there's no sticky to it. And if you've ever worked with castor oil, you know it's very sticky. So check that out. You can get that at tulipblooms.shop. Promo code Shapiro to pry 10% from my grasping hands. And don't forget, everybody, every time you use that promo code, everything else just goes straight to me. Guys, some of you may be listening on Substack. Some of you are watching right here on Rumble. Or Twitter, or X, whatever. So you get this in audio format at readingepicthreads.substack.com. And you get it immediately after I make it. So go to my Substack, readingepicthreads.substack.com. Subscribe there for me. It really helps when you do that. If you're watching on Rumble, follow me on Twitter at pgunnels1. So do all those things. We are the news now, all that good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Let us pray. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Bear protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all evil spirits who prowl about the world, seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you tomorrow.